NAI football has new coaches in new places. 14th time this year that we have heard about a coach stepping down from his position, and now 10 of those spots have been filled. We're even going to talk about an offensive coordinator tonight as well on college football this week. And guess what? Like Sammy Hagar said, I can't drive 55, but we're about to find out exactly how that plays as this new year in 2026 goes along. We'll tell you what all those things mean here in just a moment. But before we go any farther, let's go ahead and get right into it. There's no reason to bury any lead tonight. We have one of the best in the business on college football this week. Joey McWilliams, Doug Gann along tonight with Coach Miles Russ from the Kaiser Seahawks. His team, national runners-up, back-to-back national runner-up finishes, fourth time that the Seahawks have been in the championship game. Coach, we could give resume for probably the next half hour or so if we wanted to, just to do that alone. But I do want to say thank you for being on the show tonight. Really quickly, the most recent time we saw you was in Fort Worth, Crowley ISD, and the Seahawks came up just that short, and I'm telling you, it came down to the very last play. Tell us a little bit about coaching in that championship game once again. The Seahawks fall 22-16 to Grandview, but what a great afternoon.
No, that's a blessing. I think, people don't realize how hard it is to get to the national championship game. I know I laugh a little bit with, some of the coaches I taught with, obviously it seems pretty easy, when we've been there 4 straight years and myself as a head coach being there 2 straight years. But, I give so much credit to our players and our assistant coaches. They did such an amazing job of putting ourselves into that position. Honestly, we wanted Grandview. I was talking, earlier, it was like you have to beat the champs to be the champs. And, we had a great opportunity to go out to Texas. They did a great job. NAIA did a great job of hosting us and honestly getting into the game, playing Grandview. We had our chances. When you get to these big games, there's certain opportunities that you're going to have that you got to take advantage of. Honestly, we wasn't able to, make those plays when we needed to. And we made some plays as well, but it just wasn't enough. Grandview and their coaching staff did a great job. We wish we could have a couple of plays back, but that's part of it. And I think one thing that I'm really going to continue to push to our program is just continue to focus on the process. Honestly, we're looking at the results, and I know and understand that, and we didn't get the results that we wanted. But at the end of the day, we got to continue to focus on the process of what got us there, what continues to build this culture for ourselves. So, but going back to the game, man, at the end of the day, Grandview did enough to win the national championship. We didn't do enough. And we're just going to continue to learn from it. I'm going to continue to self-reflect like I did last year. I really thought that, we were prepared and ready to, get over that hump. Obviously, we weren't. But we're going to continue to do what we do for the program and continue to get our guys ready. At the end of the game, I would say I was just so proud of our team of just how they acted, how talking to every one of our players, how appreciative they were of being a part of the program and, telling each other how much they love the coaches and the program. That meant a lot to me. Honestly, we didn't win the game, and that's what we want to do. But to, really, sit back and reflect, it definitely wasn't a waste. I would say that I'm still going to be appreciative of being at that point. And again, just so proud of our players and coaches and the rest of the staff of us getting to that point in the season.
Well, Coach, if your self-reflection this year is anything like it was last year, as you mentioned, your first season at the helm, 12-1, your second season at the helm, 12-1, each of those ending in a national runner-up finish. I think you're reflecting very well on what goes on, and the process obviously is getting the job done there at Kaiser. Coach, I also wanted to ask about this. You weren't on the sidelines early on in the playoffs, another lengthy playoff run for the Seahawks, and it was posted online on November 28th that, and this was a quote from you, "It's by the grace and mercy of God that you're still with us." I'd like you to tell us just a little bit about that. I know that we've heard things, and you try to report the news as well as you can, but you've lived through this, and just tell us a little bit about your experience through this year, especially the early part of the playoffs.
Yeah, it's crazy. At the end of our Southeastern game, that week, I was began to have numbness in my feet, and then it kind of spread it to my limbs. And us coaches, we're very hard headed. So I was able to get through the Southeastern game. Was our second to last game of the year, and right when we got through it, I had to go to the hospital, and there things got real very quick. I had numbness and tingling, and kind of my body was shutting down on me. And the doctors were trying to figure out what was going on, and through the grace of God, they were able to figure out what was happening. Things got a lot worse before it got better. It ended up affecting my breathing. They diagnosed me with Gann syndrome. It's a rare autoimmune disease that affects your nerves, and it ended up affecting my breathing. So before I know it, I was intubated for 5 straight days, and it was one of the scariest things of my life. Being having tube down your mouth, and kind of strapped down to the bed, and I was not asleep the entire time. I tell you that, trying to battle that. And I grew so much in my faith. I'm always been a spiritual person, but when you have your tubes down your mouth, that it's just you and him. It's
Yeah.
just your thoughts. You can't talk, and you strap down. I'm so blessed. My wife and my parents and the rest of my family did a great job of just taking turns being with me and keeping my spirits up. And I learned so much from it. Again, we talk about that self-reflection. You really don't understand what you can get through and what God puts you through. And he really allowed me to have a greater understanding. And one of the things that I've learned is how much I can be better as a young man, as a husband, as a father. Even though going through those things, the importance of life, how quick it can change. And it was just, as I got through it, just God showed me how I can continue to impact these young men as we go through it. And it was definitely a big testimony for myself, just going through that, because our young men, they think that they have time, that it's just, is
Mhm.
nothing can happen to them. And it was, and at the end of the day, you kind of get used to it. I'm 36 years old, never really been sick in my life, and it changed that quick. And that's one thing I've been talking to our young men about, and I've been in their shoes, being a college student, and you just think you're on top of the world. And I felt the same way. Things were going good for us, and boom, you're in a hospital room, and you're battling. And but God is so good, man. I felt like it was another opportunity for me to praise Him through the adversity. A lot of my interviews, we're winning, and I'm always giving Him the thanks and praise. But I think it was an opportunity for me to continue to give Him thanks and praise, during the tough times. So I think that's one of the biggest things for me. Obviously, that happened the second to last game. Wasn't with the team the last game. That week was a blur to me, because that was the beginning part of the process of me trying to battle back. And then we had a bye week, so I'm still battling through. So that week, again, I was trying to battle through. I had to learn how to walk again, stand up again, because I was bedridden for so long. So when our guys were working, I was working. And right after Thanksgiving, that Friday, I was able to finally try to get out of the hospital. And then we, at that second, pretty much that second to third week, that's when that Southeastern game came, and I was finally home. I was able to see the team, but I wasn't there yet. And that was very difficult for me to actually watch our team. I was able to watch our team, the Warner game. I was out that week, but 2 weeks after that, I was able to watch the Southeastern game, and it made me so proud, and it was so hard. Honestly, I couldn't be on the sideline, but I was just so proud of how our coaches and players was just holding the standard. And one thing we talk about that in our team is next man up mentality, and they really showed that. Our assistant coaches, I gotta give them so much credit. Our defense coordinator that stepped in, Coach Davila, who's the NAIA Assistant Coach of the Year,
Mhm.
want to give him a lot of credit. He stepped in, did a great job with our defensive staff. our offensive coordinator, Coach Knockin, always been consistent. Had the offense rolling to our special teams with Coach Kelleher and Coach O'Rourke to the rest of our coaching staff doing a great job, and our players holding the standard. And I was watching, I was watching the little details that I continued to try to push them, and they was holding every one of them. And it was just it was amazing. It was amazing to see. And then obviously that next week, I wasn't going to be ready in time, and that's when obviously we got that bye week that out of nowhere with Marion, and I think that a lot of people, obviously that was a blessing for us, but it was still a lot different because we found out so late, and those guys were preparing, and then we had to kind of shut things down and get them back rolling again. For me to be out for so long, I only missed 2 games, and that's the crazy thing about it, going through this whole deal, and but being able. I was just so happy that my timeline and God's timeline was the same, because I was really trying to get back, but at the end of the day, it was your timeline got aligned with his, and it really did, and I was able to come back for the semifinal game that week and to get back going, and I was just so happy how the team brought me back. My biggest worry was to be a distraction or to be a hindrance of what we had going on, and those guys made me so comfortable, and they would allow me to get myself back into the routine of things, and they did a great job of holding the standard as we continue to make our run to the national championship game.
Look, Coach, it's just it's such a blessing that you're up and going and back walking and going through all of that. As someone that has been through that type of a process as I have, it's just and you're nonstop your entire life up to then. As a head football coach, we all know the drill. To tell them, look, I understand. I'm just back walking. I'm just out of the hospital, but I got to go win a semifinal game in a
Yeah,
national championship. I'm getting back to work. The
yeah.
doctors and families must be going, well, what do you mean you're doing all that?
Yeah, so I would say my wife. It's funny. I called her my PO. Like she made sure, I was going back. It wasn't just pull all the way back in. She made sure I had to have time to relax, and she'll cut me off in terms of how many hours I was doing in the office. But I understand it was just to protect me. But that it is what that's what it's about. And it's just again things happen so quickly, and that's that's one of the major things that I was learning about it, that you never know, and my family did such a great job just helping me get back to that point, and I and my wife really held it down for our family, and you know me coming back. I was like, dude, I gotta listen to them. They're the reason why I'm one of the biggest reasons why I'm here. So that was definitely something I had to get used to. Honestly, not going the full, 12 to 13-hour days. I had to cut it down a little bit, go in a little bit later, and then leave a little bit earlier during that initial time. And and that's when I really think it allowed me and myself as a head coach to understand, hey, pick your spot, and not try to do too much. And I really appreciate our coaches, helping me understand that as well. Of like, the work we already put in is there. It's nothing that you can do to get change anything that we got going on. The foundation is there, what we've been putting in training camp and the 11, 10, 12 games before I was out. So don't come in here trying to be Superman. And I think that was really big for me to know and grasp that, and that helped me with that transition. Coming back, not trying to do too much.
I love it, Coach. Before we jump to this upcoming season, I just want your take on a couple of things from
Yeah,
that championship game, because we've Joey and I
yeah,
and some other people that know the business, supposedly
yeah,
have kicked around our ideas of it as all. But let's look, if you can, let's go through a couple of things on it real
yeah,
quick, if you don't mind that. First of all, the wind was brutal on one end of it. That looked like
Yeah,
all the scoring until you guys tried that long Hail Mary at the end of it, and of course got the field goal right there. But I want to
yeah,
back all the way up to that penalty that you got on the touchdown early that would have given you the
yeah.
touchdown before the blocked field goal. You hate to look at things like that, but man, that just showed you what kind of game it was.
Yeah, it really was. I have a lot of different, and I'm very transparent. So I'm just going to talk to you guys real. I have a lot of different things that I look back at that it was tough. It was tough. Obviously that penalty was really tough for us, and then we get a blocked field goal. Those are points on the board that you can't not have. And obviously going through that, the things that I look at is, if we don't get that penalty, we're on the pretty much 1 yard line, have an opportunity to score a touchdown. That was really big for us. We had some third down opportunities on defense. We had a holding call. It's 3rd and long. Got a holding call in the first half that would have allowed us to be in really good position. I go back to the end of the second quarter. Going into half. I made a decision in terms of calling a timeout. That happened, and then they have a 85-yard touchdown, and that happened the week before. But I own up to that because I felt like at the end of the day, and our message the whole time is that we're going to have to take this national championship, and I wanted to try to steal a possession, knowing that we was going to get the ball back, understanding the win, but their punter had a little bit of trouble on a couple of their punts of not really getting it down there. So I wanted to, try to see if we can steal some points. And I know we have a really good field goal kicker that I thought we can steal some points and really put ourselves in a really good position. But our kids kept fighting. And that's one thing that I love about it. And we was able to, get back and tie the game up. But yeah, the win was a factor. And that's part of it. It's not a coincidence. Nobody scored, on that side, pretty much. Yeah, it's part of the game. It's amazing how the game kind of go back and forth, and everybody had their momentum at times. I wish we could have scored a couple more points on that scoring side when we had the opportunity, and unfortunately we didn't score enough. So now when you get to the fourth quarter, you're battling back against a great Grandview team, not just offensively, but especially defensively. And just wasn't able to, make enough plays to, put us in position to win it. But going back to it, I just love how our guys fought, man. With the field goal, with the onside kick, that's just, and then getting an onside kick, putting ourselves in position for the Hail Mary. That's who we are. And I was really proud that we was able to at least show that piece of it. Obviously, we weren't the best in certain areas of the game, but the heart of our team definitely showed.
Doug, you said, I didn't know if you had a couple more really quickly. I didn't want to interrupt you.
I was going to fit. That would. I just wanted his take from it from someone that was on the field, and then I'll just let you jump into next season to the preview part of it.
Okay. Well, I won't. I'll ask a couple. Let me get one of our community here really quickly. I don't know exactly how old Shea Spencer is. Tool Envy's saying he might be 31, along with Jackson Waring. I don't know if that is an exact number or not, but he's been around the program for a while. So obviously, I'm sure it was good for him to get one more opportunity. Have one more there. And a shout out, by the way, to Michael Brooks, who is actually down there in West Palm Beach right now, part of our community as well. And he's a big fan, definitely supporter of Kaiser football. But let me ask that question really quickly, just with Shea Spencer. Has he used all of his eligibility?
Y'all want to make sure, huh?
I was going to say, somebody needs to check with, with everyone about that compliance and just make sure that's done. But if not, or if he has, is there a direction? You have some folks already there, or are you looking ahead?
Yeah, so Shea Spencer is done, man. I'm going to miss that kid so much. It's just amazing how much he has grown in every facet of his life. I'm so blessed to see him from 18 years old, growing all the way up to where he's at right now, and just as a young man, as a player, spiritually, just a whole deal. And he was a coach on the field, so we're going to miss him so much. And not just on the field, but just off the field, and how he just brought guys together. So, like I told you, it's always next man up. And at the end of the day, nobody cares, if you're losing Shea Spencer or if you're losing Tyler Logo or some of our key players that we have. But one thing I always say, we lost a lot of key guys the year before, and then we lost a lot of key guys the year before that. So it ends up being who's going to be that next man up. And it's going to be a competition. Obviously, you saw a JT Tabora that came in through a pass, and we also bringing in some more guys that help to compete with him as well. So we're really excited about having that next guy for that position. But at the end of the day, we have to replace a lot more other guys that are getting really good opportunities at the Division I level, and that's one thing that I'm very proud of our program. I feel like our program really gets guys prepared, and not just on the field but off the field, but they get opportunities, big opportunities from our program, and I think that's my job. That's college football, and that's where we at right now. So now it's my job to get the right guys to be a part of our program and continue to protect our locker room in terms of getting the right people, and then making sure that they're learning our culture. And we're going to continue to make this thing player-led. And I think our players that did stay, that are staying with the program, is now their turn to continue to be leaders, to get everybody else that's becoming to be a new Seahawk to learn, what we're all about. So you're going to see a new quarterback this upcoming year. And we're going to continue to, push these guys and put them in the right position so we can continue to keep what we have going on.
How much impact do Dallas and Rico and Smiley have in that quarterback selection?
Yeah. So I gotta say, so we're gonna lose out on Rico, and then Elijah Edwards just got another opportunity. He's going to a Division I school, so I'm so happy and proud of him. So those two guys, they're taking that next step. Right now, we still have Dallas, and I'm so excited about him. He can do a lot of different things. He can just offensively, special teams wise. So it's our job to find ways to get him the ball. And again, that's what I love about our team. You never knew about Dallas until this year. Elijah Edwards, Smiley. He has an amazing year this year. Rico has kind of been pretty much consistent throughout this whole time. But you always hear these new names that come up every season, and I think it's really a compliment to our assistant coaches as well, of continuing to get guys prepared. It's a compliment to our players that like this world is so, they want things now. And I love how like Dallas was a redshirt this past year. He waited his turn, and now he got the opportunity to have a bigger impact on the team this past year, and now he has an even bigger opportunity. But it's important for those guys to see that. Because these guys they want instant gratification. They want it now. And, obviously we try to continue to push and teach them. But it's easier to teach them when they have people like Dallas that they can look up to and see it. So we have some rooms that, you're going to hear some names next year that you never heard before. And I'm really excited about those guys that are part of the program that we help grow. And, I think it's really exciting for us to give those guys an opportunity.
All right, Coach, I have one more question. And as much as I'd love to talk about defense, because I think every single year that you've made it the national championship game, I've talked about your defense really stepping up in the playoffs, and I think that's well documented what they've done. It's documented what I've talked about, but it's documented what they've done. And the phrase I've used year after year is they just bow up when they need to, especially in the playoffs. And it's been very impressive to watch. But the question I had to ask, I go back to, you've been a running backs coach. You were a running back. I mean, 4,200 plus yards there, D1. That's nothing to sneeze at. So props to you on that, Coach. But it seems like the last 4 or 5 years, when you look at Kaiser and you look at the offense, I mean, there's one guy in the backfield that he's the guy. He's the dude. But there's somebody else there that, I mean, you're getting two players that seems like combined for a couple thousand yards between the two of them. Obviously this year it was Miller, and then Simon was there, and then last year Meisinger, or Burnett, actually, because Meisinger got hurt some last year. But Miller stepped up too, so you really had three then.
Yeah.
You go back to Meisinger and Burnett, kind of secondary moving in, and Burgess before that too. And man, what a footprint he left. Is that by design that you just have the two dudes especially? I know there are other backs on the roster and they get some time too, but it just seems like it's two that step up.
Yeah, I think it's funny you say that, because at the end of the day, it's a personality that you want for your team. One personality that's really important to me, that, our coaches know, understand. We're going to run the football and we're going to stop the run. That's very important to me. And I think the games, we're able to win. We're able to do that. And the games that we weren't, we didn't do that at the highest of levels. So that's always very important to me. It starts up front. It really does. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit more about those guys, those running backs, but it starts up front, making sure that we have the right people, making the way for those guys. And then, our offensive line coach Woods, that's a great job, getting those guys prepared. Now, talking about the running backs is specific. I love, my biggest thing, I want guys to be themselves. I don't say, hey, if you're a bigger guy, I'm like, hey, I don't want to try to make you something that you're not. And I think we have those conversations very early. And, these running backs really know and understand that they can be themselves and won't be punished about being themselves. And that's something my running back coach Dorsett taught me. And I wanted to continue to, push that for our program. So, when you look at our running backs, everybody has a different attribute that they do very well. And it's our job to try to put them in positions so they can really, show what they can do. And I think Coach Justin Wake, who won a national championship for us, he's our running back coach, and he has grasped everything that I taught as a running back coach, and him kind of transitioning into that position. He has it, he gets it, and so. Yes, it's not a coincidence. I think those guys are allowed to be themselves, and and Coach Knockin and Wake put those guys in positions so they can really push what they do to the highest of levels. And the guys know that when they come in, hey, you're going to get an opportunity to make plays. But again, it goes back to guys waiting their turn, preparing themselves, and being ready when they get the opportunity. So like Jaden Mine, we had a guy named Marquise Burgess that started the program that was really, really good. Jaden Meinzinger was behind him. Then Jaden Meinzinger, when he got the opportunity, he did what he had to do. Andrew Burnett was behind him and continued to prepare himself. He pushed, and Andrew Burnett was the guy. And then you had Miller, building himself up, preparing himself and watching those guys. Now it's Miller's turn. Then you had, it's just who's the next guy is going to be. And then, you had Dylan Simon that was very mature, that ended up being a running back and continue to have that same mentality that was able to do a lot of really good things for us this past year. So I think that's the most important of the development, the opportunity, and the mindset of being developed part of our program, and take advantage of those opportunities when you get them. And I think all those guys have done so, and we're really excited to see who the next guy is going to be. Even though it's still Miller time, Jaden Miller, he's my guy. But I'm excited for you guys to see who that next guy that's going to be able to be that tandem with Miller as we continue to grow.
Doug, anything else before we let Coach go, or?
No, Coach, I just want to be respectful of your time, of course. Looking forward to some more conversations with you, too.
Sir.
One quick question that I will ask you, and I've heard a couple of different sides of it, the way that recruiting goes. Are you guys just already finished, or do you still have some holes that you'll fill?
Yeah, no, we're never finished. We're never finished. I tell you one thing, the foundation of our team is high school. We're always going to be high school up. So we really feel like we're able to take advantage. It's unfortunate, but I tell people that I love the transfer portal because I feel like we are able to get higher caliber high school kids. And our coaches know and understand, I'm about development. Honestly, we'll get some transfers, don't get me wrong, but our foundation is high school up, and we feel like we can get very high caliber high school kids that we can build and give them opportunities. And then you got to fill certain holes. So that's when you go and try to find guys that might be coming back home to Florida that might have went off to school, and we have a couple of those guys that you see that we prepared them. But you look at our team, it's high school up, man. So we're never done. We're really in the thick of things now. Getting into some of our official visits coming up, and then we have signing day in February. So that's going to be really big for us. This portal thing has been crazy. We allow that stuff to kind of settle down a little bit, and then once those guys understand that that D1 is not there, we can be that safety net for them. So I don't take things personal when it comes down to that. I know how it goes. I know we're at the end of the totem pole in terms of that. But I will tell you one thing, once they they can see our program, they can see guys that have been developed and gone on to do some really good things. But I tell you one thing, if you're going to come into this program, be ready to be developed in every facet of your life. And even the older guys that do come into this program, I push them to be leaders because we have some young guys that look up to them. So I wanted to get them ready to go. It's this thing doesn't stop. We're going on all the way until August. We brought guys in very late before, so we understand is my job to continue to evaluate the team to see where we need the holes we need. But I really hope that a lot of those positions, I'm excited for this upcoming spring to summer, because I want to fill those positions with guys that believed in us from the get-go and have developed and are going to be ready to go. So that's those red shirt freshmen and those sophomores. We got to get them ready, sometimes you have to go get a transfer if you need to, but I'd rather have those guys be ready to go because they know and understand what we're about. And you don't have to, start all over with a brand new guy that's already 21, 22 years old that kind of already has, set things and how they do things. So that's always a totally different conversation of getting them prepared and used to what we do as our program and as our culture. And that's where I go back to getting the right guys. And I feel like we got the right people in terms of transferring in. But I'm always about the guys that we get out of high school and build up.
I love it, Coach, and look forward to checking in with you on signing day on some of those
Yes,
guys.
sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right, Coach, and same thing here. I'm excited. I know we'll get a chance to visit this summer and preview with a little bit more in depth, as you know a little bit more about that team at the time. Couple things to close with. You mentioned next man up, and I appreciate you mentioning Justin Wake, because if there was ever a next man up in Kaiser football history, he was the guy to step in at the right time. And of course, for those who may not remember, he was, I don't know how far down the depth chart he was. I mean, from when Spencer went down to just from there, and he stepped up in that national championship game and led you all to the title in 2023 over Northwestern. Absolutely, shout out to him. Also, Michael just mentioned Wyatt Brooks is his grandson, and I know you had a chance to coach Wyatt, so he says hello. Great shout out to you from across the way, and thank you so much. My final thing is one more shout out, and that's to Paul Dotson, because you mentioned this beforehand, and I'll say it now. It is my birthday today. I have hit that 55, and I can drive 55. My kids think I drive probably a little bit too slow anyway, but that's all right. But I was appreciative to Paul because I told him I wanted somebody special on my birthday to get to be here for this show tonight. And he delivered, sir, you delivered. Thank you so much for being with us on college football this week.
Yes, sir. Again, thank you guys for giving me a platform to talk with you and really showcase our student athletes. Like we talked before the show, man, it's such a blessing to see how much NAI has grown. And it's because of people like you guys have, pushing and having a platform for these young men. And, honestly, you're seeing now these young men continue to grow into bigger things, as you would say, and have bigger opportunities. But it starts at right here. And I really appreciate you guys have continued to put a light on these young men and what they're doing. So thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We will let you go, and Doug and I are going to stick around and talk a little more, but have a great night, Coach. God bless you, sir, and thank you again.
Yes, sir. God bless.
All right, and we'll let Coach Russ go back. It's a little bit different time zone as he's out in the Eastern time zone, Doug. We have a little bit more time before it gets to be too late, and I don't think anyone's going to put me to bed right now. I don't think so at 55. Maybe some of them think I'm a little bit older there, but anyway,
look,
that's all right.
And you know the story that my wife is a couple of years younger than I am, 9, but still. And so her phone it's, when you get those alerts on your phone and it's Etsy or Pinterest or whatever it is, and mine pops up AARP.
Yeah. As long as it's not life alerts, I think that's all right. Hey, Doug, I don't know. Now, some of the guys in the chat, and by the way, let me stop there. We didn't give a shout out to everybody tonight. Matt's in tonight. Michael's in tonight. Part of the community. Tool Envy is with us tonight. Edwin is with us tonight. Dave at the very beginning. Dave, if you're still watching, thanks for watching. And for all of you all, and if you haven't, let us know in the chat tonight that you're here. Please go ahead and do that. Be a part of the community. But, Doug, they were saying you sound a little bit distant. So I don't know. Actually, Tool Envy goes back, and he said you're on an AOL dial-up. Is that accurate?
No, it's absolutely not. No, it's the way. See, I'll tell you what. Let's do this and get this a little bit closer. I was trying.
I think I can hear you a little better now. So
can you? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll let us know.
Yeah, let's do this. Although they may get to a point they don't really want to hear what I have to say. So there you go. But I will tell you what an honor it was to meet Coach Russ. It equals everything that I heard about him and that you guys had told me about him. Just what a wonderful person he is.
Absolutely. Doug, by the way, Robert, glad you're here tonight. It's okay that you're late. Go back and watch part of it. Coach Russ had quite a few great things to say, and Robert's watching playoff football right now, so that's it happens. I understand that. We had that last week too with D3 going on and FCS going on, and of course it's the NFL tonight. My Seahawks, not Kaiser, but Seattle, they got the bye week, so I can wait a little bit to watch them play. But Doug, in visiting with Coach Russ, just obviously not face to face, but through the two windows that we're looking at right now. Just a fantastic guy. I did not have the opportunity to actually physically meet him face-to-face until after the game was done.
Right.
And I commend him so highly on the way he spoke with Shea Spencer. I mean, there's some pictures of him personally talking with Spencer, following the game, and just sharing with him. And the way he spoke with everyone. Obviously, it's a tough loss in the national championship game. He was so amenable just to even visit with me. Of course, he recognized me because we've talked before, but just get to see him face-to-face for that long, and it was a privilege. And I could talk about that for another 10 minutes, just how gracious he was in just visiting with me, and what a blessing.
And you can tell that it's genuine. We've run across through the years folks that would make time that didn't really have the time in their minds, but you could tell that Coach Russ is genuine, and I bet he would have been on here another hour with us on here if you have to keep a monitor on that. But we'll catch up with him. Need to start doing these. I see you do that Saturday morning show around. I need to head out east and do some in Florida.
Hey, listen, I Mrs. Midwest Sportsnet, who, by the way, has a name. Her name is Jody, excuse me. So we're Joey and Jody, just in case some of you all have only heard Mrs. Midwest Sportsnet. She has gotten on me in recent years, especially because she said, you don't go far enough away from home. You stick around Texas and Kansas, and obviously in Oklahoma. I was a mile and a quarter from my house this Saturday to do that show. But we're going to be in Louisiana already, Doug. You and I've talked about that. We're going to be in Louisiana. Roughly in October. We're still spitballing when that's going to be, but Sioux Falls is a destination I want to make, and I agree. My goodness, if I told Mrs. Midwest Sportsnet, hey, listen, we're going to West Palm Beach, Florida, I think I'd be on the nice list there. I definitely that she would be very pleased with that. So
I mean, I could think of a lot worse things than a Saturday morning down in West Palm Beach. There's no doubt about that. And look, the world's not flat, so I've got to expand my horizons
yeah,
for the good of the show.
that's exactly right. You
Right.
you have to you need to think about other people like that, Doug. And I know
That's right. I'm a
you have a
giver.
good heart.
Just so you know.
All right, Robert, who is in the community tonight too. Thank you very much. And by the way, to all of you all, I appreciate all the birthday wishes. It has been a very good birthday. We have a couple more things to talk about really quickly, but Coach Russ, I agree. I mean, he gave us so much time tonight, and I'm so thankful, and I want to make the good use of that. But Doug, and to everybody, I mean, I got to see, well, at least through Facebook and phone calls, all 5 of my kids and all 4 of the grandkids, and it was just a great time just being with them on a Sunday, doing church together and just all those things. It was a blessing. So I think 55, I'm looking for a good year in 2026, and I'm very, very blessed to be here, and so I'm thankful for that. All right, Doug?
It's been one of my best ever. Yeah, and I'm to the tail end of number 55, heading towards 56, but I've loved it.
Well, good. So you paved the way for me. I
There you
appreciate that. We said there were new names in some new places. So,
Yes.
Doug, just to run down a couple of things, and we'll hit some high points here. And I want to close out talking not only NAI, but let's go with D2 to close. And we'll know more when we get here. Of course, this is college football this week, and we try to stick with NAI as much as we can. However, there are some other things that come on, and we have the leeway to do it. Why? Because we can. That's why.
That's right.
All right, Drew Maddox, a name that you're familiar with. And he was at Louisiana College, then Louisiana Christian, changed the name there. He was there for 4 years, 22-16, led the Wildcats to the playoffs back in 2023, got that incredible win over Texas Wesleyan, and make it to the playoffs. They fall to Baker on the road. He steps out, goes to Southeast Missouri State, there for a season as an assistant coach, heading down to Florida to what looked like an opportunity with John Melvin. And then nothing really panned out there. And I don't know exactly what all went on, but there was no football season in 2025. He comes back into the spotlight now, taking over as the 4th head coach in Arizona Christian program history. So a shout out to Drew Maddox, the new head coach at Arizona Christian.
Look, I think that is a home run for those guys, because you talk to anybody that's played for Drew or been around Drew, they'll run through walls. He brings that mentality in there, and he is going to have a tough ball club no matter what. They're going to battle. Matter of fact, we talked about the border claw with the game with LC and East Texas Baptist. He's the one that got it back, and I'm telling you, it is a home run for him, and excited to follow what Drew does out there.
Absolutely. Well, and he's former military too. So I would imagine that goes a long way toward having a very tough mindset and a tough team. And I think, I don't know, you've visited with more than I have, just a time or two here on the channel, and you got that idea. I mean, it was kind of, I'm not going to say military, but it was more of a no nonsense of, this is how we want to do it. This is how we're going to get things done. Again, I don't want to have a negative connotation in that.
No, he's a wonderful guy, and too, he's lighthearted, has a lot of fun with what he does, but business is business too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, next up, new head coach, and this is something that came out on Thursday. So on Thursday, Campbellsville on social media releases that, hey, listen, we want to say thank you for Coach Jake Russell's time here, 3 years here. We really appreciate him being a part of what's going on, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you look up and go, all right, well, Coach Russell has another opportunity. And before the day was over with, lo and behold, Southeastern down in Lakeland, Florida says, hey, listen, we found our guy. So the vacancy at the head coaching position for the Southeastern Fire filled by Jake Russell, 21-11 at Campbellsville, and a playoff appearance this year. Doug?
Yeah, look, that's you know something's in the works, almost like the portal when you're out of this one and into the next one. It just makes you wonder what's going on. I think it's going to be a tremendous fit down at Southeastern because of what he brings with him. And I don't know, and Joey, I've not been around it as long as you guys have. But if this is what it's normal this year, the coaches and the moving and I just love this.
Well, and I go back and I think, well, I've got it on one of my other tabs. I don't have it pulled up right now. There were 19 first-year head coaches, at least first year at their program in 2025. We know there will be at least 14 because that's how many openings have come up, and 10 of those spots have been filled. There were about 11 in 2024. And so, at least in recent years, there has been a bit of a carousel. And, a lot of coordinators and others that have stepped up to fill. But it's interesting to see, some former head coaches at other spots in the NAI kind of rotating a little bit and filling some other jobs. Of course, Coach Maddox coming across the country to Arizona, but then Coach Russell down to Campbellsville. Right. That's still relatively in the South right there. Coach Russell also spent a couple years at Kentucky Christian too, and he was a Campbellsville alum quarterback there that led them to the playoffs a couple of times, I believe. He's one of the leading passers in Campbellsville history too.
Look, it's I can't wait for 2026 already.
I wanted to talk, Doug, about a couple in the transfer market, and I think I may bypass that just a little bit because as I was going along, I felt like I was starting to get a little bit negative in some of the notes I was taking, and that's not really my style here on the channel as much, so I just want to give a heads up. I will say this, and I'll get your take on this too. 2 Sundays into 2026, looking at the names, and I see a number of them show up on social media, and some of them, some really good stats. Some of them maybe not as many. One in particular I was looking at today. I don't think he had too many stats to speak of. At least through 1 year of playing at the university at which he is right now, but he's put his name out there in that transfer market, and it just seems that the turnover. I think there are going to be a lot of players, Doug, when it's all said and done, that the market is not going to be in their favor. Is that the best way to say it?
Look, I've stressed this over the last 2 or 3 years, or 2 or 3 times that we've talked on here, and Coach Russ alluded to it as well. They don't like to mess with the portal, but they will. They like to develop, and they're doing a tremendous job of it. You look at the percentage of guys that die in the portal, that just won't put their cleats on again because they're wanting that other opportunity. And I understand that wanting that other opportunity. But, man, you get in somewhere where you are a fit and a fixture. And yes, there's some competition. Yes, there's some people coming in. But let me tell you, that portal is not all it's cracked up to be. And Joey, I'll tell you, I think it's because these young men are getting some pretty bad advice, is what it is, from folks around them. And that's the number one thing that I think is so chaotic about it.
I do think, and I think this is a testament to what Coach Russ said as well. I do think that when you get coaches like Coach Russ saying, hey, listen, we're focusing on high school first. We'll use the portal because you can't go.
Yep.
And with respect to Dabo in Division I, you can't just say, hey, listen, we're going to turn a blind eye to all of this. But I think that he's focused on, hey, listen, high school's there, and you can see in him that he really wants to grow the player and the person, and really wants to develop people there, and I think that's a big part of that. And I would imagine most, if not all, coaches do. But I got that idea from him, and him saying more than once that high school is very important to us.
Look, it absolutely is, and the amount of athletes that they have in the state of Florida is
Yes.
beyond a lot of them. I mean, they're one of the Texas, California, Louisiana, all of those are very fertile states when it comes to athletes in there. But imagine this: if you're in that transfer portal, knowing that what it goes on and they don't select, but you get a call from Coach Rudd and say, "Hey, look, we've been to the national championship 4 years in a row. We've won one of those. Oh yeah, by the way, we're in Florida." That's a phone call you take.
All right, let's break some news here, and I don't know that it's breaking news, but it's breaking news on our channel. So I'm going to go ahead, longtime member of the community here on Midwest Sportsnet, and that is Dave, whose son Drew. You might have heard us mention Drew's name a time or two, or possibly every week during the season this year, talking about what he's done at Morningside, and he is going to finish his career at Morningside. So, Dave, shout out to Drew from us here. Congratulations to him, and
Yes.
I know that you guys probably thought about that, prayed about that a lot, and so that's where he's going to finish up. What a great program that is. And I know that the program is better for having had him there as well, and for the opportunity to finish his career there too.
Yeah, it's phenomenal to see when that happens. Let me back up just a second and make sure that folks don't misunderstand what I'm saying too. There are situations at schools where it's not the right fit, and a young man's there, or maybe there's a new coach that came in, or whatever it is, and rather than in the old days, it was just hang them up. Or you can now get in the portal and give yourself a second opportunity at recruiting after you've been a college player in a college system. So there is that value in there. But just for school hopping, not a fan of it.
No, and we're seeing more of that, but I agree. But shout out to Drew.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
happy. I'm happy for him, and just I'm happy too, because also now that means there's it's a whole year of concentrating on just looking ahead and getting it all done, and didn't wait too long. So, man, we're looking forward to talk about him for one more year. And Dave, man, I'm glad. It was nice to see you. You were the first person to come into the chat tonight too, and I was glad that you were able to stick around with us, even watching with Robert and some other folks. You might be watching other football too while we're talking here. All right, coaching news. Let's do one more coach here, Blake Fryer. Now,
Yes.
Doug, I don't know how much you know about Blake Fryer, but I know that you're getting more into the NAI here with all your coverage. He was a quarterback at Northwestern back in 2020. Now, he was quarterback there for a little bit longer than that, but he led them to the national championship game. It was a loss to Lindsey Wilson in that championship game. He is second all-time at Northwestern in completion percentage, 63.7%. And he is heading back to Northwestern to take over as the offensive coordinator. So a shout out to Blake Fryer in coming back home.
Look, I saw that on Twitter this week, and you know me at 55, we'll keep calling it Twitter. I saw it on Twitter,
I
and
haven't
now
stopped.
we follow each other on Twitter now. Doesn't mean anything other than I did research a little of it, and it's another key that I wanted to talk to you about tonight. You're seeing more and more in the NAI world where alumni are coming home to their schools, and they're staying and they're playing in that type of a surrounding where they know it. Look at Ben right here locally. You see Fryer there. It's established. The school knows who they're getting in this, and I think that's a big deal. I think they're onto something.
I don't think you have to look too much farther than down the road from the folks there in Morningside over at Grandview. You go over to Des Moines. I mean, for what Coach Woodley, the father did, who started the program, then his son, Coach Woodley, and Coach Peterson. Now, that staff under Coach Joe Woodley, I don't know, I think by the time he left, it was, if not entirely, almost entirely made up of Grandview alums who had come up playing through them and been a part of that program there. And look at the success that they've had. I mean, and success does breed success. So, yeah, I think it definitely is a big deal to mention, Doug. All right,
Yeah,
let's
absolutely. And we're looking forward to following his path and seeing what goes on with him.
By the way, and for those watching tonight, there's a little bit more of a delay between Doug and me tonight, so it's I apologize for that delay in the sound. I don't know what it is. I go back to Tool Envy. I want proof that Doug's not on an AOL dial-up right now. I think that could be that could be something. You'll have to show me the internet bill, Doug.
I thought it was your new. I thought it was your new equipment.
You know what? It really could be. We mentioned that from the outset. I don't know if we said it on the program or not before, but my broadcast computer, who listen, I've given it a personality too, who had given me 8 good years of getting me on YouTube, decided on Friday that she was done, and she just said, "Dad, I'm done." And so I've got some new stuff. That may be it. That may not. I'm not sure. Anyway, all right. Rashad Beckham. Shout out to Rashad Beckham, from Benedictine, the senior, named the 2025 Remington Award winner, honoring the nation's top center across the NAI and FCS and D2 and D3. But this one for NAI, I'm going to read from the release from the Hart Conference. A senior from Oceanside, California, earned All-America honors from both the Victory Sports Network and the AFCA during the 2025 season. A 4-year starter for the Ravens, started all 50 games of his collegiate career at center, never missing a contest. During the 2025 season, Beckham anchored the offensive line that allowed just 4 sacks while helping the power an offense that averaged 476.6 yards per game. His performance helped Benedictine earn national recognition and further showcase the strength of football within the Heart of America Athletic Conference. So, shout out to Rashad Beckham for being the winner of the 2025 Remington Award for NAIA. And wow, what another great run for Benedictine, making it back to the semifinals once again. And Doug, are you still with us? And Doug may or may not be still with us, so we'll check on that there. He says he's lost me. So I don't know. Anyone really quickly in the comments, and if we have to, we'll let us know. Have you lost either me or Doug? I think the answer to that just came in that we may have lost Doug. So there may be a delay there. I was just teasing about the AOL. Somebody in the chat let me know. Am I still live, or are you still live, or is Doug live? Lost Doug. Okay, that's what I thought. Just wanted to make sure there. Okay. Well, I hate that. Well, I'll be watching to see if he's able to come back on, and we'll post if he's able to go there. All right. Let's see here. Okay. Live television, as we go here, let me really, really quickly don't want to lose anybody while we're typing that in there. I'm going to shoot him the text and go from there. There we go. All right. Tool Envy sums it up there. Yeah, you pointed that out, and I was just teasing him about that. But I think that it's a bad connection there. But I haven't had that delay, and I'm excited about getting to work with Doug in 2026 and getting some more conversation going on there. But that's the first time we've had that kind of delay on that. So anyway, all right. Well, I hope he's. I texted him, said, "Hey, listen, try again." And we'll see if he's able to get back on here. I'll talk for just a little bit more there as we close out. And if he's able to come back on, then good. We'll wrap that up. All right. A couple things as we close out tonight, and we'll see if Doug is able to get back on here. Doug?
Yes.
How about that?
Yes. So I did an Ookla speed check, and if anybody that checks internets and all of that, and I've got about a 2,000 upload in there, so I don't know. All
right. Well, Tool Envy's already expressed his displeasure with AOL, so we're going to chalk it up to AOL tonight, and in the future we'll know it's better. But there's no delay now, Doug. You look a lot better, and go from there. Matt Matt, hey, listen,
Yes, I
Doug,
get
you got
it.
to feed the hamster every now and again.
I take all abuse. Look, and I did in my defense, or not in my defense, I did switch over to T-Mobile, but my speeds are great, and they do. I mean, I don't know.
Well, listen, let me wrap up with this, okay? I'm going to read this really quickly. Coaching turnover, because, Doug, here we are. Arizona Christian, okay, there were 14 that are going to see new first-year head coaches on their sideline. Arizona Christian, new head coach Drew Maddox. Avila, new head coach Ed Warner. Campbellsville, now vacant. Eastern Oregon, still vacant. Langston, still vacant. That one surprises me a lot. Missouri Baptist, Mark Lillibridge, who, by the way, we had here on Midwest Sportsnet. Great interview with Coach Lillibridge on the Summit a little earlier this week. Peru State, Sean Wilkerson, new head coach. Rio Grande, Mike Bartram, new head coach. Rocky Mountain, still vacant. St. Mary, Taylor Calvert is the new head coach. Simpson, Trevor Utter, the new head coach. Southeastern, we mentioned Jake Russell just a moment ago, new head coach. St. Thomas, Drew Davis, the new head coach. And Corey over at NAIF Ball pointed this out on his Discord chat. The son of Butch Davis. Didn't know that. Butch Davis, the former OSU defensive coordinator. You may not know about that one. How about Miami, University of Miami, with some of those victories back in the 80s? You probably knew that one. And if you followed the NFL, forget the Cleveland Browns. He was with the Cowboys back when the Cowboys, actually won playoff games. And then Waldorf new head coach David Callaway.
Look, I think that's a great list of guys. Joey, you hit it spot on. That Langston one's starting to get awkward now.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. I am. That one just caught me off guard. I was, Coach Morgan, and I had a chance to meet him, visit with him a number of times over the years, both online and meeting him personally when we would do Midwest Sports Saturday up in Langston. Really enjoyed him. Solid coach. He steps out. I thought that one would be filled a little bit more quickly. I agree with you on that one. All right, last thing, Doug. Last thing tonight, because we've hit the hour mark. Shout out to everyone for sticking around with us live tonight. Division II, the convention is going on this week, and in the Division II level, now again, this is NCAA, but just want everyone to follow here. This is not all levels of NCAA. This is purely Division II. They're going to be voting about a number of things that the Administrative Council said, okay, yes, we're going to go ahead and put this out for a vote at the convention. Among those things, women's flag football, which is cool, but not the number one thing that we want to talk about. 5 years of eligibility. So it's 5 for 5. So right now, you basically have 5 years to get 4 years of eligibility in. And in that time, you can say, hey, we had a red shirt. Well, we know that this system has been abused beyond belief. Now, and not always, because there have been some medical red shirts. So sometimes you could have a red shirt and then a medical red shirt. And then there was another medical red shirt or two. I mean, the quarterback, Cam Rising out at Utah, I think is drawing Social Security right now. He was there forever, it seemed like. That sometimes it's abused. And Diego Pavia, by the way, at D1, again, another D1. I mean, he still wanted another year, which the NCAA denied.
Right.
But, so what they're saying in this is that you're getting 5 for 5. So this would eliminate red shirts. So you're not going to see red shirts anymore at D2. You get 5 years to play 5 years. And after that, I mean, you play it down, that's a year. Doesn't matter. You played. So don't worry about your red shirt year anymore. Just go ahead and get it done. Which, by the way, and Doug, I'm sorry, I'll give you a chance to talk in a moment. By the way, shout out to Paul Dodson again. Great sports information director. He's already ahead of the curve. And he's been listing players by their academic year and by their year of playing football, year of eligibility on his roster for at least the last year and maybe a little bit longer, first year, second year, third year. So I think that's going to have to factor into some of these lists, because you're going to get kids that are, they're seniors, but they're playing their fifth year. And I think that'll go a long way, Doug, to help us as broadcasters when we look at their roster and find out, okay, yeah, it's listed as a senior, but he's still coming back next year anyway.
Look, and people were able to go out and find that extra year. So I'll tell you an interesting turn down here at LCU that ended up this year. They had a gentleman that started for them at center, part of that championship team in 2023. They moved him to guard in 2024, and in 2025, grad assistant on there. Find out he's got another year of eligibility somehow in there, get him back, and he's an all-conference tight end this season. So give the kids their time. Here it is. It's cutting its stride, and you're going to see it all over football.
Okay, and I'm glad you said that, which brings us to what Tool Envy says right here. I hope they adopt 5 for 5 on all levels.
Yes.
And here's my take on that. Somebody has to breach that and get it started. Division I has already said, they said back in October, no, I mean, we're not going to do this right now. Now, that may change because things change. But they said in October, yeah, stuff's getting voted on. We're not doing it right now. That's far down the road. We're going to, for all intents and purposes, kick the can. Division II, if this gets voted on, it could happen as quickly as next year. So we'll
Correct.
see how that works out. But somebody had to do it, and you know that the NAI, that Division III and Division I, all of those administration levels are watching what goes on in Indianapolis, wherever the convention is. The NCAA headquarters is in Indianapolis. So wherever the convention is this week, you know this is what's going on. I think it is actually in Indianapolis. Doesn't matter. The vote's happening. Everyone's watching it. And Tool Envy, I agree with you. If one's going to do it, they should all do it. It would help a lot with paperwork. It would help a lot with just stop trying to abuse the system. Get it done. That's fine. And then when it's over, it's over. You did your 5 years, and it's over, but somebody has to do it. And I think I was hearing yesterday that it looks like it could be closer to a 50-50 vote. I don't see that happening. I see this passing, and passing strongly. So there's my take, Doug.
A lot of it, too, are kids aren't finishing their education in 4 years either. And I think you're going to get more kids graduating out of this, and that'll happen. But if folks are waiting around on Division I, they've still got to fix their dadgum playoff system and everything else before they can.
All right.
Send your emails to Doug at MidwestSports.
Yeah, there you go. Doug just wants John Argo back, which I don't blame you for. Or excuse me, Tool Envy wants John Argo back, and I don't blame you for that.
Right.
All right, let me pitch one more thing about this since we're here. Final topic of the night, I promise. Doug, I believe that there are unintended consequences to most decisions like this that are made. Now, I'm saying unintended because I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus on this just yet. So here is a potential unintended consequence to this. You get 5 years. You get players that are good, and they stick around, and they stick around, and they stick around, and they stick around for a 5th year. But if you don't have any additional scholarships to give, what's that mean to these recruits on the high school level that, I mean, that scholarship that they were trying to get, well, it went to a player who's here for 5 years as well. And so I think scholarships become more scarce, and I think an unintended consequence is that you're not going to get the same number of high school kids able to come out and be a part of a program. Does that make sense?
Well, Joey, I'll agree with you on that too, and it's something that I didn't think of. But all you have to do is look back 5 years at what COVID did to these, and when folks are getting that extra COVID year, how much chaos that threw on high school kids.
Exactly. I mean, and the numbers are already there. You're right. We don't have to look back that far at all to find that out. And so and again, I'm going to say it's unintended. I don't think there's anything nefarious going on right now, but I think it is a possible, potential, and likely consequence of what would happen with that. Not to say that having 5 years of eligibility is inherently a bad thing, but I think it's there. Something to think about. So,
look, it gives us a lot to talk about, and we've still got a lot of time until August.
We do, but we've taken up a lot of time tonight, and so I want to make sure everybody has a good night in all of that. Shout out really quick. Doug, did you have anything else tonight?
No, I think we're good. We released LC's schedule, and that was a big thing. Just looking forward to more and more of these dates, because I've got to find a place to go on October 31st
That's LCU's bye week, and I'm going somewhere.
All right. You know what? Maybe we can figure out and we can meet up there wherever that somewhere is. However, I will say there will be a trip to Pineville, Louisiana is on the docket for Midwest Sports Saturday in 2026. So that one is a definite. Dave, shout out to Dave, to Tool Envy tonight, to Michael. I'm really glad you watched tonight, Michael, especially because we had a Kaiser guy on. To Edwin for watching tonight. Matt stepped in. Appreciate that as well. Robert, you got here late, but man, that was all right. I appreciate you being here and a part of the program tonight. And I think that if I missed anybody, I don't think I missed anybody's in the chat. Hey, thanks, guys, for being a part of it tonight. It was nice to get to see everybody's name come up here. And you know what? Doug and Coach Miles Russ. Oh, by the way, thanks to Coach Russ. Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
He gave us so much tonight, and I'm very grateful. But, Doug, for you and for all the folks in the community, you guys made my birthday wonderful, and Mrs. Midwest Sportsnet will ask me about it once I get upstairs here in just a moment, and I will tell her I get to talk to the greatest people in the world, and I'm so, so thankful to get to do it every week.
Well, indeed, happy birthday. The tragic thing is that all of the folks in the chat can't sing to you, so I'd be the only one doing it, so we're going to pass on that.
That could be tragic.
Yes.
That could be tragic. All right.
That's right.
All right. For Doug Gann, I'm Joey McWilliams. 2026 is starting off well, and it's a privilege to get to visit with you all. So no Thursday night that I know this week. School starts back for me. I am back instructing at Southeastern Oklahoma State again tomorrow morning, so I actually have to now start thinking about my classes. We will be back next Sunday night, and it's going to be a lot of fun. 8 p.m. Central Standard Time once again on 446 Sports and on Midwest Sportsnet. Again, for Doug Gann, I'm Joey McWilliams. God bless you all. You guys have a great, great night, and we will see you very soon.
Good night.